Trump is to deploy hundreds of National Guard soldiers to the city of Chicago. Going to give you my take on this. Very sad take now. This is the fourth time in less than a year. President Trump is in his second term, less than a year. This is the fourth time already that he has deployed the military to a U.S. city. Obviously, the first time was in Los Angeles, claiming that the rioters are getting out of control. The second time happened to be in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Third time being in Portland, Oregon. And now here comes Chicago. Now, they're using different reasons for doing this. One being to lower crime because allegedly the local leaders, the city's mayor, the state's governor, is not doing what Trump believes is necessary to lower crime, so he's going to flood the area with military personnel for whatever reason that is supposed to lower crime. And then, of course, the other reason being to back up ICE, customs, and immigration officials. Third reason being rioting and looting. He's sending in the National Guard to address that as well, which is what was happening in Los Angeles. Now, what is particularly distressing about this is President Trump can really send in the National Guard for any perceived emergency he deems fit. As you see, I just gave you three different reasons he's already came up with to deploy the National Guard. One being to squelch rioting and perceived looting or whatever the case may be. Another time to back up ICE and customs officials when they're conducting their raids. And then just simply to lower crime. Who knows what else it may be? A rash of car thefts, carjackings, whatever. It could literally be anything. He's making that clear. Three different scenarios he's already came up with to deploy the National Guard in U.S. cities. I'm bringing this up because I made a video several weeks ago. It's titled 5 Rights Americans Will Lose Under President Trump, and I got hammered for this. People told me I was completely wrong about it. And since I made that video, 2 of the predictions I've made are actually have actually been proven already. Number 1 being losing the freedom of speech. It took for the system to stop President Trump. He was trying to take talk show hosts and folks' broadcast license and everything. He was trying to squelch the freedom of speech. And by the way, he's still trying to do that, not to mention criminalizing flag burning. So I talked about the First Amendment, Trump trying to take away the First Amendment. But also, in addition to those 5 rights being lost, I talked about 2 honorable mentions. And I'm bringing that up because one of those now is clearly in jeopardy. States' rights, something that is often favored by the right. President Trump, if you watch the video, I'll link it in the description. The video tells you states' rights under President Trump are in jeopardy. This is something the right always talks about, how the states should be able to behave and govern in their own manner without interference from the president. Well, as you see here in President Trump's case, anytime he doesn't believe the states are doing something that he deems is favorable to a progressive society or a productive society, he'll just send in the military and force him to do otherwise. And as I stated in my video, not only are you going to be at risk of losing these rights, MAGA is going to agree with all of this, such as starting with the burning of the flag, which the Supreme Court ruled is protected under free speech. MAGA was totally happy with you losing that free speech right and potentially going to jail for doing it. They were totally happy with that. MAGA is totally okay with the military being sent to U.S. cities. Now, here's what I mean. In addition to lower crime, in addition to claiming that it's all about protecting federal property against rioters and looters, in addition to helping ICE and immigration and customs officials, how many of you believe that MAGA would have a problem at all if Trump deployed the National Guard to protect the integrity of the elections? The liberal states are cheating. So I got to put a National Guardsman at the polling offices and polling places to make sure they're conducting the elections fairly. How many folks believe that MAGA would have a problem with that? The point I'm making is there is an endless string of conditions where Trump could come up with a reason for deploying the National Guard. Your taxes are too high. You know, you got immigrants in hospitals getting health care at the expense of American workers. We need to make sure that ain't happening. I mean, you could have an endless string of reasons for why Trump could continue sending the military in liberal areas, and MAGA's not going to disagree with it. So that is a loss of states' rights. If the states do not perform in a manner that Trump deems necessary, he's just going to deploy the military and force them to do so. DEI, you name it. MAGA would agree with all of that. We don't trust your hiring practices. We believe you're hiring based on DEI, based on affirmative action. We've already outlawed that. Do we have to send soldiers to make sure you're not doing that? Could be a host of reasons. You're going to be at risk of losing states' rights under President Trump. Now, getting down to the nitty-gritty about this National Guard deployment to Chicago. It's bullshit, folks. It is bullshit. It is about literally sticking it to the liberals, showing the liberals I can do whatever the hell I want, despite you and even despite the law and Constitution in many cases. Because if you notice, look at where he sent the National Guard to. Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Chicago. What is the other one I'm missing? There's a fourth one there. Portland, Oregon. Now he's threatening to do it to Baltimore. These cities, it's not like this is the top 5 most violent cities in America. He's skipping all over the list to simply pick out liberal cities and liberal states. Every one of these cities is also governed by a liberal governor. St. Louis, Memphis, Little Rock, many more violent cities, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, skipped all of those, Memphis, Tennessee, because they all have Republican governors. He is targeting liberal cities in liberal states to let folks know I can do whatever the hell I want, irrespective of how you feel about it. And that is the true sign of authoritarianism. Just throwing his weight around because he know he cannot be stopped. So I'm just going to say right off the bat, the Chicago thing is bullshit. Certainly when you got them going to arrest what they call members of Tren de Aragua on the south side of Chicago, they used a fucking Black Hawk helicopter hovering over the top of the building to repel from the helicopter to put snipers on the roofs. Does that sound like anything you've ever heard of in America? We've arrested thousands of big drug dealers, kingpins in this country. Have you ever seen in America a military helicopter with people rappelling out of it to put snipers on the rooftops? Have you ever seen that happen? That is authoritarianism. I'm going to show you I am not to be fucked with, regardless of what the law is. That is what he is doing. And that will likely spread to other liberal cities that happen to have liberal governors. Baltimore, as I stated, might be next. New York may be next. Los Angeles may happen again. It's going to be in those areas to maybe show Gavin Newsom who's boss. If Mandami wins in New York, Trump clearly doesn't like him. Maybe doing it in New York to show him who's boss. It's not about lowering crime. It's not about squelching riots, but it could be, and that's another potential loss of rights in regards to the First Amendment. Your right to protest. You're going to lose First Amendment rights under Trump. I cannot say that any more clearly. Everything from your right to assemble and protest. I don't want to go too far and say your right to freedom of religion just yet. All of that's under the First Amendment. But certainly the flag burning, certainly your ability to watch anti-Trump broadcasts and things like that. He's already threatening that. Several aspects of the First Amendment Trump has threatened. So the First Amendment, absolutely. I'd invite you to watch the video. I linked it in the description that gives you the 5 rights you're likely to lose under Trump and 2 honorable mentions. One of those honorable mentions being states' rights. I think it's pretty clear. Trump intends to tell liberal states what to do. I don't think that's even up for dispute. I just gave you 3 different reasons already in less than a year he sent the military into U.S. cities to tell them what he don't like, what about what they're doing he doesn't like. Liberal cities are highly taxed. I'll just say it this way. Just think of all the things the right complains about in liberal cities. All of that shit, if you listen to President Trump, could be deemed as a reason to send folks in and get it under control. Everything that he does not like the liberal cities doing could be sent in to stop that. Expect stuff like that to happen. Right now, there is a major outrage because in the city of Dearborn, Michigan, which has a majority Muslim population, which voted for Trump, by the way, that area went for Trump. But they pray multiple times a day, and they announce through some sort of horn or bullhorn or whatever, it goes across the neighborhood for people to know it's time to get on your knees and pray. And folks are saying it's happening multiple times a day as early as 5:30 in the morning, and this sound can be heard in people's houses and shit for up to a quarter mile or more away. So it's noise pollution. It is certainly problematic if you're trying to sleep and all of a sudden you hear this shit. If the left-wing government, I believe it's under Gretchen Whitmer, if that government doesn't do anything about it, God knows what Trump may do. You're losing states' rights under President Trump. If he does not think the right-wing citizens in your area are getting a fair shake, send in the military to get things under control. Now, if you're on the right and you're listening to this, you're going to think any prediction that is anti-Trump is fear-mongering. You're going to think any prediction that is anti-Trump is fear-mongering. That's never going to happen. I can tell you one thing. There's no way in hell a year ago from today the right would have agreed that Trump would have dispatched the military into 4 American cities and was threatening others. They would have thought that was liberal fear-mongering. But here we are. Here we are. So we can keep calling it fear-mongering until that shit is right up on you and actually taking place. He's doing all sorts of things that the right would have called fear-mongering. Is there anybody that believed this time last year that Ghislaine Maxwell would be in minimum security? Trump would not even be denying that he may or may not pardon her, and that you would still be wondering what's in the Epstein files after the Republican Congress voted against releasing it unanimously? Is there anyone that would have believed that if a liberal said a year from now, you're not going to have what's in the Epstein files, and the Trump administration is going to be actively trying to block you from seeing it? A year from now. Is there anyone who would have believed that? Or thought that was anything, or better yet, nothing more than liberal fear-mongering? 5 rights you will lose under Trump, 2 honorable mentions. Link in the description. Let me know what you think about it. Do you think that you will lose rights under Trump? Or do you still see this shit as liberal fear-mongering and you support him dispatching or deploying the National Guard wherever the hell he deems fit? As always, feel free to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.